Have you played Pac-Man 99 yet, by the way, John?
I have not, but I've seen a lot of clips.
Okay.
Also, I watched
Cool.
you play, and I was very frustrated with your strategy.
Oh, come on. Oh, come on.
I kept watching you. I'm like, Kevin!
I know. I was playing like a chump. Although I got some good finishes.
No, you did. You were doing great. Like, it was just not how I would play. But we'll get into it.
Nice. Awesome.
That's great.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Pursuing Pixels. My name's Kevin Portelli, and I'm here tonight with Randall Nolery.
Hey, folks.
And John Hines.
Hi there.
And we are back, as always, to talk about some video games. And you may have noticed in the episode description, it is episode 100 here. But we're not really doing anything special in particular.
This is it.
Although we are going to talk about some all new games, or new-ish games at least, newly released games. But
That's right.
The reason we're not doing anything in particular to celebrate is because we actually have our 2-year anniversary episode coming up next week.
Yes, sir.
So we figured it would be a little overkill. You know, we don't want to pat ourselves on the back too much here. So
We got to make it to next week.
That's right.
Exactly.
Keep them wanting.
But we are back, as always, to talk about some video games like we said. So let's just get right into the mix. And I know that the newest thing, you know, I put my foot in my mouth. I think I was saying that, you know, I don't think Nintendo's going to take away Mario 35. I just really don't think they're going to do it. And sure enough, Nintendo, you know, true to their word, which they typically are
Mario.
true to their word.
They did kill Mario.
They killed Mario, but only for a few days, or at least to be resurrected or replaced, I should say,
Yeah.
by Pac-Man 99, which at least for me is the most welcome replacement, kind of unexpectedly, because I was not a huge fan of Mario 35. Just,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not going to beat it into the ground, but like I don't love the original Mario Brothers a ton, so it just wasn't my favorite.
I think I
And
booted that
Tetris-
thing twice, tops. that
Yeah,
Mario
I played it
35.
5 times. I got a first
Yeah.
place finish once or twice and was like, okay, yeah, I experienced it. Like, I wasn't mad about it going away, really.
Right.
Upset. But when Pac-Man 99 showed up, I was just kind of thinking, oh, that's cool, because I've never been the hugest Pac-Man fan. I've definitely loved some of the takes on the franchise over the years, but I always enjoy it. But like, I only played the most on like the NES growing up. Like,
Yeah.
I played that version at my
Not
cousin's.
the best
He would always
version
just
of
whoop me.
Pac-Man to play, I'd say.
Definitely not. Definitely not. And again, my cousin was always just so much better than me. And when you play 2 players, you kind of just take turns until you die. And like my cousin would beat like 6 levels, and then I would beat 1 maybe, and then die, and then it's his turn. Just keep going. So it wasn't the most fun. So again, I wasn't the most hyped for this, but that said, I have put a ton of time into this to the point where I've done like 2 pretty long streams of it.
Nice.
I can't put this game down. Like, I think this is like worth getting a Nintendo Online subscription if you don't have one. Like, well worth the $20. I'm thinking about getting the upgrade package to where you can like play with your friends and do the score attack, and like that. I think there's like a $15 upgrade and a $30 upgrade.
I haven't even looked into
you
that
can-
much yet. I didn't realize there was more into that.
Yeah, and they did do something like that with Tetris 99,
Yeah.
too. I think there's like a $10 DLC or something. And I guess I should call it a DLC as opposed to an upgrade. But
Another
essentially, there are like 2
excellent game.
tiers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, Tetris 99, I'm not good enough at Tetris to like hang. I've never gotten a first place finish in there. Whereas Pac-Man, although it's only been out for a little while here while we're talking about it, but probably a little longer when the episode comes out. But still, I can hang. You know, I've gotten 4 or 5 top 10 finishes,
Ooh,
and I
nice.
just, I did mention that I did like some of the later Pac-Man entries in the franchise, and in particular the Pac-Man Championship Edition series. I think there's 2 of those games, and they have incorporated a lot of those mechanics into this game.
Yes.
In particular, like the ghost trains.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the main thing. And it is so satisfying to chow down on those ghosts in slow motion. Like, you eat the first one and you kind of plow through the first 3 or 4, like slow down, and then it just like, it's so insanely satisfying, and it just gives Pac-Man that extra edge. And then on top of that, it being this battle royale version where it's like a versus mode, it isn't about like, oh, I got to eat every pellet, or it lets you kind of change your strategy on the fly, and it keeps me engaged in the game as opposed to like, I got a game over. Let me start over from the beginning, and it's all super slow, and it takes me forever to get up to. Even Championship Edition suffered from that. Like every level, at least the first one, you would kind of memorize them and go for the high scores, and like. But the level would evolve over time, and like but you would have to memorize it if you wanted to really get the best score possible, if that's what you were going for.
Right.
But yeah, this kind of like just keeps you engaged in that same way, but in a totally reactive way and reflexive way, which is, well, like we've talked about, at least I was mentioning when we talked about the modern and retro difficulty. I really love that, like, more reflexive gameplay, but I know you've put a little time into this too, Randall.
Oh, yeah.
What have you thought so far, and what's your Pac-Man kind of background?
I got a decent Pac-Man background, even though Pac-Man was basically before my time. I've always just enjoyed it, but I've always kind of had a knack for arcade experiences in the first place, and like it's such a like great simplified gameplay. Like you don't even have to press a button. You just have the joystick primarily in most Pac-Man experiences, and it's so much fun. Like, yeah, I remember, playing Super Pac-Man, which most people don't talk about because it's got these weird gates and stuff. But my stepdad at the time owned an auto place, and he had a tabletop of Super Pac-Man, and I'd play that all the time. Like, I've always enjoyed Pac-Man for what it's worth. And so I was excited when I saw this out of the blue, Pac-Man 99, another battle royale to go along Tetris 99. And beef out the Nintendo Online service, give it a little bit more benefit there. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Although I will say at first I wasn't having as much fun because the Pro Controller D-pad is rough, as we've mentioned in the past. And it has you use a D-pad to control Pac-Man, at least by the default controls.
You can change that for what it's worth. Again, it's kind of the same thing with Mario. It's like it's a weird setting in the options. It's not like it's weird that you would have to turn on like let me use the joystick.
Yeah,
like that's just a weird thing. Although there are like you were saying, Randall, in most Pac-Man games you only use the joystick, or at least in many. But in this one, you're kind of using a series of buttons, kind of sporadically, not like on the fly so much. Although I'm sure the pro players are probably switching their strategies up on the fly more frequently. I kind of just stick to one, but that's probably my one gripe with the game, is just kind of how it doesn't explain anything to you. And I think we were talking about this in the Discord a little bit. All of the like Tetris 99, Mario 35, and now Pac-Man 99. It's like you pretty much you should look up an article online or something and learn. Because I was actually looking something up today. There's something called drifting in this game where you can actually, like, if you execute it properly, you can drift around a corner and like Pac-Man will have sparks kind of appear off him.
Okay.
Because I have accidentally, or not accident, well, I've accidentally done it, but I've burst through a ghost and not taken damage before. Like I was like, oh, did I pick up armor at some point or a shield? But no, it's when you do that drift, you can technically drift around a ghost, which is like
that rules.
Like, it doesn't tell you anything about this, and there's like strategies, and it's like you can either pick between like random or stronger, or it's just like the most random, like vague one word things with no explanation.
Which ultimately, like you just like in Tetris 99 and in the Mario 35 or whatever, like you can set those strategies, but really you have to be focused on what you're doing on your main screen with your character, or you're going to die real fast.
Yes, it is a very like I was saying, just like you're engaged at all times. Like you are, I don't know. I can't put it down. Like the first I think I originally was like, oh, I'm going to do a stream and check out some other games on the Switch. And I think I did end up eventually playing some other stuff. But most of the times I booted this up, I was like, yeah, I'll play this to kind of warm up and then play something else.
Yeah.
And I'm playing it. I don't play anything else. And I find myself like bringing my Switch with me into bed and playing a couple rounds before bed. And I'm just so shocked at how much I like it.
We like our arcade experiences, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I pulled out my arcade stick because the Pro Controller was like, and because I just associate Pac-Man with a joystick control.
Yeah,
Yeah, it did help a little bit. Although it's not quite perfect mapping, as far as like sometimes I felt like I couldn't go the way that I wanted to unless I was very explicitly lining it up And then I'm like, no, you're not going in the right direction. And I got ate by a ghost again. Okay.
Yeah, that's a problem I have with arcade sticks in general. Even on an actual cabinet in particular, because I don't actually own any arcade sticks, but or I haven't used too many of
they
the
take
home
up a
ones.
lot of space.
Yeah. I just haven't had a chance to really use too many of the nicer home ones. I think I've seen some of the kind of cheapies,
right?
Like the Mad Cats and stuff, but back in the day. But yeah, I know there's some really nice ones these days. But I always find you just have to be so deliberate, with that whole hand movement of the joystick. It's as opposed to a thumb. And one thing I'll say is that I always typically prefer the Pro Controller.
Yeah.
But the Joy-Cons, when I'm playing handheld, I find that that tighter rotation of the joystick, that kind of smaller radius or whatever, I find that to work really well, to the point where I do play with the Joy-Cons for Pac-Man exclusively.
Did
even
you try
when I'm playing
the separate buttons to control Pac-Man that way too? I feel like that would actually be kind of decent that way too.
I didn't actually try that. I always in my head, I just never even think of those buttons as a D-pad.
Right.
So I just in my brain, I don't think of it, but you're probably right. Cause it is again, there are, I take that back, because I do use those a lot of times in puzzle games, in Tetris, for example. I would use those 100%. I want to move one tile at a time or whatever, one space at a time.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a good point. I haven't tried that, although I'm thinking, depending on how these drifting mechanics work, 'cause I'm thinking I'm going to have to do some kind of Hadoukens, and do a little thumb roll on the joystick, which I don't know, man. I'm so pumped to have this game. It's honestly one of my favorite games on the Switch right now. Nice. I know I'm the king of hyperbole, I always say, but it's easily a top Switch game. Worth getting a Switch to play this game.
It's really fun. And you made top 10, so kudos to you. I think the best I did was last night, and I got 26th or something, and I'm like, oh, this is a good run.
I've put some time in. I'll say, because even when you hit the top 50, it really starts getting serious. Because there's there's these jammer. They're called jammer Pac-Man. Again, they don't even tell you any of this.
The red
stuff.
guys?
They're called jammer. No, that's what I thought when I saw the name. But no, the white ones are called jammers.
Oh,
and then I think the red ones are called hunters, or they're called something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's really cool because when you eat the power pellets, that's technically when you're executing whatever attack you have. So if you have the I forget what they all are, but whatever selection you have for your strategy, when you eat a power pellet, that's when it kind of executes your attack, apparently.
Yeah.
And then every time you eat a ghost, it sends one of those white Pac-Men over to the other player. And then I really like how when you eat the power pellets, it kills all the jammer Pac-Men on your screen that are chasing you around. And then when you eat the fruit, that will kill any of the red ones that are chasing you around. It's just so cool.
This would be nice information to be told.
Yeah, they tell you none of this. Now, some of this I was able to intuit on my own, the eating the power pellet, all the white ones disappear.
Yeah.
And then it freezes the red ones, but it doesn't make them disappear. But then when you eat the fruit, they disappear.
I didn't realize that because the fruit also resets the board with the regular pellets and the power pellets, which is equally important because otherwise you ain't getting any more power pellets.
Right, and you have to eat enough power pellets to make the fruit reappear for the next stage. And again, you don't want to eat it too quick because you want to make sure you get all those ghosts to add to the train. There's so much shit going on in a pretty simple game.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel... I mean, again, some of the... I looked some of this stuff up, and I haven't played much since I looked it up, actually. It's just making a lot more sense to me now.
Yeah.
But, I'm looking forward to playing some more, but I definitely recommend maybe looking that up before you dive in. Even though I still think, like you said, if you came in, got almost the top 25, just basically playing Pac-Man and picking a strategy, you know? But obviously, there's deeper layers here, and I think that's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Although I am worried about how good people are going to get at this game.
That's kind of exactly the thing with the 99 series is that I think that it is intuitive enough that you can get to a level of competency, but if you actually want to be competitive, there's just stuff that you really need to look up.
Yes.
Yeah.
It does feel that way. And it's look up. It's not learn in the game necessarily.
Yeah, nothing at all. They did a little tiny bit of explaining in Mario 35, but that was it.
Yeah.
And that's a stretch to call it explaining.
Forever.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
And it's gone. Yeah. That Nintendo was like, what were we thinking explaining it to people?
We're just going to take it away from them anyway.
Yeah, and it has me thinking though, having another this is Bandai Namco, right? That did Pac-Man?
Arika is the developer, and then
okay,
Bandai Namco.
I wonder if they've worked on
it.
the other. did Eureka? Do you know if they did the other games
That's
off
what
the
I
top
was
of your
wondering.
head?
Yeah,
I would. Yeah, I would kind of imagine that, but yeah, I'm kind of curious to like. Just I was gonna say like
they did
thinking.
Yep.
Okay.
They did Tetris 99 and Mario 35.
Nice,
Yep.
nice. That definitely has me thinking though, like outside of the world of Nintendo, just retro games in general. Like, what else could they do? A Mega Man 99? Could they it got me thinking like they could do it with anything. They could do it with anything. How good would Mega Man be?
A Mega Man 9.
As soon as that came out of my mouth, I was like, oh my god, I would pay top dollar for that.
Get Capcom on the phone.
Yeah. But I think we can move on from the Gush Fest, the Pac-Man Fest here. We got Pac Fever though here.
That's right. There you go.
Pursuing pixels. But I
like it's
I wanted
1986.
To move on.
Out of my mind.
Nice. Well, next I figured we could go into a demo that Randall and I checked out, and partially got kind of encouraged to check this demo out by TheXandan, who hangs out in our Discord.
Yeah.
He's actually a game dev of his own. I've only checked out one of his games, Winning is Fun, which he made for a game jam, which was really cool. It's like all the levels were like made where like you can't lose. Like when you fall into a pit, you just get like launched out of it and you can like spring jump, but it's like so like you can beat the game all the way through, like never die. And it's just like, oh yeah, the winning's fun. Yeah, this is awesome. But you can actually like, it's like solving puzzles to figure out how you can die in each level. It's kind of cool. It was a really cool experience. There's a couple of other games that he has that I've been meaning to check out, but they all take like keyboard setups and stuff, and I just haven't quite had the chance to set those up. But anyways, he's chatting with us all the time in the Discord, and he was kind of encouraging us to check out Balan Wonderworld, and really kind of saying he had a great time, like he played all the way through it and really, really enjoyed it. And I think on Metacritic this game has like a 30 or a 40 or something like that.
Yeah, like a
really
50,
just got,
I think. Yeah,
it's like just absolutely panned.
Yeah.
And this is a game from the creator of Knights, Billy Hatcher, and originally worked on some of the Sonic games, I think.
Yeah.
I just kind of not surprised to see, because the trailers and the stuff I had seen, I was like, yeah, this does look a little janky, but Zandan's got good taste, so why don't we check out this demo at the very least? And I ended up doing it on a stream, actually. Nice. I just jumped on and people were hanging out, and I was like, you know what, why don't I check it out right now? And played through the opening bits, and I think you did as well, Randall. And you probably have a stronger background with this creator here.
Yeah.
I'm drawing a blank on his name. I wrote it down somewhere. Yuji Naka, yeah.
Yes, sir. And yeah, this like immediately stuck out to me when I played it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm playing a GameCube game. Like that's
yeah.
And like, so like
or
Billy
even
Hatcher,
Dreamcast,
we had booted back up because I got my GameCube hooked back up with like an HDMI thing, which was nice.
Nice.
But Tina wanted to play Billy Hatcher, and Billy Hatcher is great, so why wouldn't we play Billy Hatcher? But like it's known for some of the cutscenes and music, and now playing Balan Wonderworld, I'm like, oh my god, it's like the exact same style and direction of cutscenes, just now it's in HD instead of 480i or 480p that it was on the GameCube. Like it feels like that experience just got lifted from 2003 and it's now on modern platforms. Like that's what Balan Wonderworld, at least the demo, felt like to me. Is like, oh my god, I'm playing a GameCube game right now, which I think is awesome. Like, yeah, it's a GameCube platformer.
And I had a really good time too. Like the demo is only like maybe, I think it was like 2 stages ish, like 2 kind of sets of challenges.
Yeah, with like a boss. And,
and the boss battle at the end, and but some of the stuff that like I don't know, like that you would like maybe consider like to me it just seemed like they made some decisions that maybe are questionable, but like for example, like there's like, they're not questionable, but like I could see how someone would be like, oh, this is kind of janky or weird, but like
there's jank.
There's like, but there's also like character, because the reason I wasn't excited about this game in particular is, number one, I'm not the biggest fan of like the Sonic game, like a lot of these Sega games and games from this creator, like the way they, even though I love the look of them or the concept of them or Knights and stuff, but like they do have controls that you sometimes have to kind of battle against, I would say.
I was waiting for you to keep going.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were gonna chime in. I kind of lost my train of thought there too. Shoot. What was
battling
I saying right
against
before that?
Controls?
Oh yeah.
So you didn't like Sonic games?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, typical me. But yeah, I just like in the clips that I had seen, it looked like the controls, like a lot of the games from this creator, like the Knights is probably the least egregious because you can kind of like you're kind of flying around most of the time.
Yeah, and it's pretty smooth for the most part.
Knights even on that D-pad, like although that Saturn D-pad is pretty nice.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's almost a joy. It's a joypad, I guess, more than anything. But yeah, I find like in the trailers I saw for Balan Wonderworld, you're kind of like everything looked kind of slippery, a little bit janky. But like for example, like the characters, like the kind of NPCs that are on the levels, like they're just kind of invisible and you can run right through them. But I kind of like that. It was like an easy, hey, what's annoying in video games when you get stuck on the geometry all the time, or like bump into characters that are in your way for no reason that like serve no purpose other than to just be there. It's just like, well, we're just gonna get that out of the way. You can just walk right through.
No, like straight up the invisible NPC stuff and like the camera stuff that you can kind of manually control. Like it is straight up. They lifted. This is a GameCube game. Like you could have told me that this was a canceled GameCube platformer that they finally decided to release, and I'd be like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. Like that's how this played to me.
Okay, that's awesome. And they're definitely, I mean, it's probably getting some criticism as well for borrowing heavily or at least being inspired by Mario Odyssey, or at least seemingly so, where you get like a ton of different power-ups. Like I think there's 80 different power-ups in the game.
Oh, geez.
So kind of like in Mario Odyssey, you know, you're taking over enemies and stuff in this, but in Mario Odyssey as opposed to like just getting power-ups in this game.
Right.
But you kind of like can swap between 3 different power-ups. Got like a few different ones throughout this demo. Like got like I think like kind of like some kind of dragon that could shoot some projectiles out.
Oh yeah.
Got some kind of like sprout thing.
Oh, the sprout thing is awesome. I love the sprout character. It just like
it's really cool.
Goes up stupid high vertically, and then it's like a jump when you let go of it. That's real good. Yeah.
Yeah. It feels really satisfying.
That literally is a power-up in Super Mario Odyssey.
It is. And it's fun
almost
too.
the exact. It's almost the exact. It's even plant-themed. So it's like, it might not be like the most original thing, but at the same time, it's like kind of like a fever dream, it feels like almost, because there's like this first level, you're kind of in like I don't know, it's like a Green Hill Zone-ish kind of area, but like kind of more of like a farm, I guess.
Yeah.
Because there's like farmers all over the place. But yeah, then they just like break out into dances when you beat the levels and stuff. And just really, really cool stuff. Like I it's not a game I'm rushing out to buy for $60, but if I see it in a $20 bin later on in a year or so, or, you know, $30, I would definitely consider snagging it. I don't think it's worthy, or I don't think it's deserved all the criticism it's got.
Yeah, and some of that might be like I first downloaded the demo on Switch because I think it was available there first when they announced it, and I played it a little bit on Switch, and I did notice like, and I'm not the biggest like frame rate guy, but the frame rate is a little bit rougher on Switch. You know, it runs a little choppy there.
Okay.
So then I did look to see, is this on Xbox? The Series X that I've got, and it is. So I'm like, oh, let me download it there too, just as a comparison, and it runs very smooth there.
That's where I played it, and it played perfect.
Yeah,
honestly.
it did.
It played really well.
Yeah,
and yeah, I just didn't. Even though those controls I was worried about, like I thought it played really nicely. I was happy with how it controlled. And actually, it's only like to the best of my knowledge, it's a 1-button game. Every button did the same thing. If I could whatever. When you don't have a power up, it's your jump button. Yep. When you have a power up, it does the power up.
Yep,
to the
that's
best of my knowledge.
generally a jump attack kind of thing.
Yeah,
or shooting a fireball if you're the dragon or whatever.
Yeah, but it's kind of interesting because you did it. There was like a little bit of that, like you have to switch to the character that can jump right now, like because I do remember that dragon couldn't jump. I don't think.
Nope.
So yeah, I just thought it was kind of an interesting take. I always like different power-ups. I'm a huge sucker for that. And then being able to swap between 3 of them on the fly. Yeah. And then give me a little Sega fever dream. I'm in.
It is a Sega fever dream. It was kind of cool too how the world kind of it kind of like morphed and rolled as like you went to different it's almost hard to explain in an audio format.
It's very disconcerting when you're watching it. I don't know if it's less so when you're playing it, but I remember like watching videos of like people playing through it and being like, this is kind of in the same way that like watching Mario Galaxy when you're not playing it is also kind of like disorienting and makes you feel a little nauseated.
Good comparison.
In a weird way, it's almost like the opposite of Animal Crossing. Like it's like as if you were on the inside of a cylinder as opposed to the outside of like a cylinder.
Good way to put it.
If that makes sense. It's sort of like, you're like running up a hill almost if you're running forward. And it looks, at least this, like, because it was like a farmland, it was kind of like patchwork. It almost looked like a quilt, like a fabric.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just had a really cool sense of style. Like I'm like getting more excited to like want to play it when I can grab it a little cheaper. Again,
how much
not dying
is it
with you
for full?
It's a full like $60 release. It's from Square Enix published it. So
I'm with you though. When I see it on sale, I'll be grabbing it. No question asked.
Definitely doesn't deserve the hate.
No.
I was definitely gonna say, like, I feel like part of the criticism comes just from like high expectations of it being like a Yuji Naka project, and like, you know, it does feel like as you guys are saying, like kind of like an older era game made on a new platform, and like I think that going into like with high expectations, like it does set you up for like disappointment. But like one thing that I think is kind of the opposite, which we've been playing, is Toree 3D, which is the complete opposite, where it's 99 cents currently on the Switch eShop.
And by currently, that's not on
its
sale.
permanent price.
Its
full price is just
which
90, I thought it was on sale, but
I thought Nintendo just made a rule where nothing was allowed to be less than $2 on the eShop, but apparently not anymore.
Nope.
But I think that's like a sale thing or something, but whatever. That's beside the point.
But yeah, like, so it is, as it's billed, a like N64 or PS1 era, like low polygon, like 3D platformer. And going into it, I was like, you know what? Yeah, it's a buck. Like, I don't care like what quality this game is. Like, it's scratching an itch that, you know, isn't widely like available in terms of like a genre. Like there's starting to be a renaissance of these types of games. Yeah, but there's still like, it's pretty an open field. And just from starting playing that game, like it felt really good. Like I thought it was, you know, it's not like innovating more than, you know, any existing game in that like field or genre, but it's just a really well crafted like 3D course based game.
Nice.
Like the main like point of they're course based levels, so you start at one point and you're trying to get to the end. Like it's not like there's objectives that you're doing in the game, like say like a collect-a-thon like Banjo-Kazooie or Mario or anything. It's
there are collectibles on each level, like where it's more like get all of the stars in the level, and that's the only objective you can do, I guess.
But like we were talking beforehand, how it kind of does feel like a Sonic game, like an early Sonic Adventure game.
Yeah.
But it's not bogged down by like any of the like weird like objectives that say Sonic Adventure 2 would have. Where it's like, oh, I need to hit this switch and then the entire level changes, or this is a section where I'm going to be grinding on my soap shoes for an entire section.
Yeah, or even like, I mean, some of those games had some serious jank. The Sonic Adventure games, like you would just fall through the dock and fall into the ocean for no reason, like just because, you know, this game is polished. Like it controls super, super tight. And there's no real abilities. You just play as this little bird, and you have a double jump and a sprint, and that's pretty much it. And they've tutorialized it really great. Like the first level's kind of on top of some rooftops, and they just have it like on a couple like billboards where it's like, hold this to sprint. Oh, you can double jump. And like, the only other thing for like, it is kind of built for speed running. Like you said, it's kind of, this is overselling it, but again, it's kind of like the levels in Mario 3D Land where they're like kind of 2D levels, but in a 3D setting. Again, huge oversell because 3D Land is like one of the best 3D platformers, at least in my opinion. Yeah. But at the same time, for $1, this game's got 9 levels. It didn't take more than an hour to like beat it the first time through. Great. But there are like rankings for, exactly. Short and sweet, short and to the point. But it's like there's you can go for the A rankings. The first time through, I think John and I don't know if you ended up getting a C on every level the first time, but that's pretty where much. I ended up. I've gone back. I've got a couple. I actually did a stream right before we started recording tonight for like 45 minutes. I got a couple of A's and I was like, oh, I'm going to get all A's here. No. And not after that. Like, it gets tough. There's like almost like a Toad's Turnpike kind of level where you're like jumping on. There's like 4 different levels almost where there's like, and there's like 4 levels and then a harder version of each level kind of, and then one final level. And it's actually part of this like haunted PS1 themed kind of thing. That I don't know exactly when this haunted PS1 aesthetic started, but they've done like these haunted PS1 jams where they're like those advent calendar type game jams where it's 24 games leading up to Christmas. But that's why in this game that is otherwise like this like super cute like chicken running around and platforming, there's like a Grim Reaper once in a while that just pops up and it's just like
glitches the screen.
Yeah. So that's something that's like just kind of, I don't want to say just put in there because I love that aspect of it. It's really cool, but there's like this haunted PS1. It's like this big kind of thing. I see it on Itch.io all the time. Like, they actually put it on the side, like just where like the PlayStation logo would be on like the side of the jewel case on the CD. They put haunted PS1 in that same like font. It's really, really cool. That's great. So I don't know exactly all the details of that, but maybe we'll get into it another time because I know it's like the whole thing is like low poly horror games.
I'm stuck on the Toad's Turnpike comment. What do you mean by Toad's Turnpike in regards to a platformer?
It literally looks like Toad's Turnpike. Like, it takes. It's also like kind of like Cluster Truck.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great
where you're great like comparison. Running on top of like moving like semis.
Okay,
like,
got it.
So if you hit the ground, you die. Like the floor is lava kind of situation.
Yeah.
And then, but some of the trucks will have conveyor belts on them, and some of the trucks will have
be made of
ice on them.
Yeah.
And the ice is like, it's slippery. It's interesting how it works. It's slippery when you're running, but
it's
when
a
you're
momentum
jumping,
based. Like once you hit a direction, like it's hard to stop.
The jump's committed.
Okay.
Yeah.
But one of the things I was actually, there's a few people streaming some speed runs that I was watching last night. Not many people, but there was like a couple people. And one of the things, like, they have some very generous coyote time in this game where like you can run off the ledge quite a distance and then do a double jump after that. So like you can really kind of like cut some shortcuts that way and do almost like kind of like you do in Donkey Kong Country where you can do the roll.
Oh yeah.
And then kind of do a jump way after you've rolled.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like that sort of situation. It's really, really good stuff.
Nice.
But yeah, just so glad that it came out on Switch because like I expected this to just be kind of like a PC small like kind of niche indie thing, but I'm excited to see more from this developer because it looks like they make some other like 3D platformers as well.
Nice. Sweet.
Yeah. But John, why don't we toss the ball over your way for the meat of this conversation and the last of the new games for this week?
Oh man, and this is a new game. I haven't bought a new game in a while. That like a physical copy of a new game.
Ooh.
Just because like I basically will go out and pick up a physical copy. I don't really order games through the mail or anything. Mm-hmm. So I was on a hunt. Monster I was going to say
hunt. You had a mission. Yeah.
Ooh, I was on a monster hunt for a copy in Chicago because it was sold out everywhere.
No way. Wow.
I had to go to like there's one Best Buy in like Elston. And I had to walk well out of my way. I think I put in like 6 miles that day of walking.
It was a rainy day too.
Yeah, it was.
I remember you texting us, and I was like, "Man, what are you doing, John? It's a shitty day out today."
But this is the. I don't even know what I was trying to fucking say. Whatever.
It's the life you lead. It's the life you lead.
The decisions I make, the poor choices that I commit to and are too stubborn to not follow through on. But
yeah, you wanted to play Monster Hunter.
I did, and I got it, and this is my first Monster Hunter since the 3DS remake that they re-released on Switch. Very
like Generations
sounds right,
or 3U Ultimate. I don't know, honestly.
It had like an X in it or something. I don't know.
Yeah, because
it's the one that's like clearly a 3DS.
Generations 2. Did they release?
I don't remember.
What? Which?
You can clearly tell it's a 3DS remake. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like it looks basically just like up-resed. Like all the assets.
I played the demo for that one and was like, "Ee."
But it was still fun, and that was the most I had played since the 3DS demo, I think, that I downloaded of whichever one first came out on 3DS. It was after the Wii U. Good Lord, this series is so inscrutable, and
there's so many of them.
There's so many of them, and I've played barely any of them, but each one that I do play has successively ironed out a lot of the issues that I have with the previous one.
Oh, that's good.
Because it is notorious as being one that is very deliberate, and like you have to commit to a play style and also commit to attacks. Like it's a very critical decision making that every single choice you make makes a huge difference.
More or less deliberate than a Souls game, as you've been playing many of lately.
Honestly, I think it's more deliberate.
Yeah.
Like, I think
that was the feeling I got from the little bit I played of the demo. Yeah, I was like, man, this is like, very committal. Like you're talking like super ghouls and ghosts jumping style committal. Like you're committed.
Yeah.
Sorry for taking a swig there. I was like, good. Thought that was going to be a longer sentence. But yeah, I think also like when I first played like the majority of the game that came out on Switch, the 3DS remake, I had spent my time playing through the different weapons, trying to find one that worked for me, and inexplicably the one that works for me is the gun, which does very little damage because I think it's like basically meant to be like a support weapon, and not necessarily one that every weapon you are perfectly able to main, but man, the first couple weapon trees that I went through, like I was basically doing 1 point of damage with each shot.
Oh no.
And that was incredibly rough for the first couple missions until I'm now at a cool 7 points of damage per headshot.
There you go.
Is it like a machine gun though, or what kind of rate of fire are we talking?
No, it's
oh no.
Pea shooter.
Man. You have, for your unlimited ammo, the light bow gun has 4 shots before you have to reload.
Oh, no.
Oh, my God. I don't know
because those monsters take a ton of damage, right? I mean, I'm assuming they take a while to take down.
Oh, they sure do. I don't know why. Why do I like this game? Why have I resigned myself to this exact play style? But I like it. I don't want to sell this short. Like there are so many things about this that I really like, and at the core of it is just like I like a game that gives you a million things to craft and like the wide variety of sources of things. Like each enemy, like even the small monsters in addition to the big monsters, have multiple drops and have multiple like, oh, this one like will drop a claw or a fur or something, and that will craft into different armor set. And each armor set has like a bunch of things that you can upgrade, and like they have different buffs, and they all look different. Like
now we're talking.
Everything like is very stylized. Like that is the nice thing about Monster Hunter, is that each individual item is very unique. Right. And the thing that I love about I don't even think we've said the name of the game. It's Monster Hunter Rise.
We've said Monster Hunter a few times, but we've never been specific.
It's obvious it's the new Monster Hunter, but Monster Hunter Rise in particular, I think is a game that speeds everything up. Like everything moves faster, and you get drops.
I was going to say, including gameplay. Okay,
yeah, like. The wire bug, I'm not sure if that was introduced in Monster Hunter World, but the wire bug is kind of your grappling hook, or I don't know, like it's closer, honestly, to like a Spider-Man like web slinging. And like you don't have to attach it to anything. Like you just have to aim in a direction and it'll like launch you in that direction.
Oh, okay.
And you start off with 2 charges, and then every encounter that you start, every level that you start, you can like increase that up to 3, and like they recharge as soon as you use them. So like you could theoretically like time your jumps or like wall run a little bit to have 1 recharge. It's
wall run? What do you mean wall run?
That's the thing. Like this game has so much more mobility than like.
Okay, hold on now, because like you were saying, like as the series has gone on, you've been more and more interested. Like World kind of caught my interest probably the most of any of them, just because it looked really cool. But at the same time, it like I know I kind of veer away from the open world stuff and the crafting and like the heavy. It seemed like it was really focusing on that. Do you feel like this is kind of building upon that idea, or is it going down a different path? Or
absolutely. And like I think that people have shown that the maps are kind of based off of like previous maps. Like, so there's stuff that you recognize from previous games. Like the layouts are very similar. They might be a little bit more like fleshed out or changed in certain ways, but the general progression from like area to area is very reminiscent of like previous games.
Okay.
So already if you've played them, you kind of have a familiarity with how the levels are laid out. But also like this is each level is a contiguous open world level. Before, it used to be like you would get into an area that had, you know, maybe 3 exits, and that would lead you to another area, and like there would be a loading screen that would. And this is like, you know, if you're playing a 3DS game, like it's the limitations of the hardware,
right?
Whereas on Switch, it's all one contiguous level, and like
but there are separate levels though.
There's separate rooms in each level. Right. But there's also separate levels as well.
Okay.
Like there's a forest level, an ice level, a desert level.
Okay, because I guess I got the impression in World that it was like all one giant open world. Like I was picturing. I guess I wasn't picturing. I don't know that to be a fact. I just like I wasn't picturing you like picking levels in this game.
Yeah,
but that's cool.
You kind of pick, the setup is you pick missions, and the missions will either be like harvest this item or hunt down this specific monster or hunt down this number of monsters. And like the mobility is just so streamlined. And like before, you used to have to like paint enemies that would have them show up on your mini map if they were one of the large monsters. Now they're just automatically there from the start. Like before, as you enter, like you will see all the large enemies on your map, and you will see them as they move from area to area. And like if you're doing an actual encounter with them, like after you do enough damage, they'll run away and run to another area, and you can see where they move.
Nice.
And like again, it's just all of these things that were really frustrating in previous titles are just gone. Like it's just so streamlined. And again, like I've mentioned how it's like faster, like level progression, or like not level progressions, but like upgrade progressions is so much faster. Just you can set little minor quests that you do where, you know, they're just stuff that you automatically are doing in a level, and that'll just give you an armor sphere, which is what you use to upgrade your armor. So you're just constantly getting stuff. But again, it really does help if you've played previous titles.
Sure.
Because I knew all of these mechanics, and I knew them like getting easier. So I was like, oh, that's so nice. But also I had previous titles to like build off, and I knew already what I needed to do.
Right.
Like
right.
There's so much content in this game, and there's so many things that you need to know. And like I literally don't know how to play with another weapon. Like there are like a dozen weapons in this game. I only know how to play with a light bow gun. I don't even know how to play with a heavy bow gun. Like
it seemed like that type of game. Like every weapon felt very not only deliberate but very like specific. Like each one was like, this weapon feels. You're not like, oh, let me try this sword or this sword. You're like, no, let me try this sword that does a totally different arcing swing than you know.
Oh yeah,
just very different.
Yeah, and like I've unlocked Well, a nice thing that has been introduced in previous games that they've added now the palamutes, which are your dog companions, as in addition to your palicos, which are your cat companions.
Yeah.
That's
what I remember from World, yeah.
Yeah, and like before it was palicos, and that was how you had like if you were playing solo like me. I know these are games that you're supposed to be playing online, and I
was gonna say it almost sounds like an MMO structure.
It is
kind of is like what it's based on.
Yeah, it scratches that MMO itch 100% for me. But also, like, you can play solo thanks to like having a palico and palamute, and the palamute also doubles as a mount. So you can wherever you are, you can always just hold A, and then a little clock wheel like will appear around the A if you're holding it for long enough, and then you'll just get on your palamute like no additional buttons, and you're just moving so fast.
Another quality of life.
That's awesome.
You don't have to dismount when you're climbing a like vine. Like the palamute will just run like vertically up. It rules.
I was just thinking, imagine if you could do that in Breath of the Wild.
Oh my God.
You just like call your horse, run up the mountains.
Yes.
Meet me here.
That's so cool, though.
Yeah, it's just but like the palicos, like you can send them on missions to to level up or to gather items or to like trade items. There's so many mechanics that I barely understand what's going on.
Are you then not able to use the palico or the palamute while you're sending them on a mission?
But you can keep hiring more, and then you have it's a little army. You can have the ones that come out with you, and like they you can tailor their armor so that or weapons so that they can do different things. Or the palicos
that
will
goes
have
deep.
different classes.
That goes
like
deep.
You can have a healer, a fighter, like someone who's just gathering. There's too much in this game. Like
that's insane. Yeah, I was picturing like you got to like when you create your character, then you would like create your palamute or whatever, and that's like that would be it. You have your one. That's what I was picturing.
There's still so much customization, and like you can the fur patterns, like the eyes, the ears, the faces, everything is customizable.
Nice.
And like that's kind of the thing, is that like this is a game that is very specific to my tastes, and I really like it. I don't know if I would recommend it to other people. Because like, again, I know that like I definitely saw it with World, and I saw it a little bit with this, where people are saying, oh, this is like the easiest game to jump into the series if you're looking for an entry point. I'm like, no.
They say that every time.
Yes, they do.
They said that about World too.
Yes,
Right.
they did.
Like, this is a very obtuse series, and like, if those are the things that you're into, I think you should give it a shot. But like, if you don't like a million mechanics and like so much, like you have to replay levels over and over again to like get this like enough craftable items in order to craft an armor set.
Right.
And then you have to like get more items just to like create new weapons and stuff. Like, there's
It's
a lot
extremely
of
MMO.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it's 100%.
You've got me so torn, because like you're half the time you're talking about really cool combat stuff and like zip lining and riding dogs all over the place and grappling hooks, and then half the time you're talking about Diablo 3. Yeah. I don't want to get anywhere near that.
Hey.
So, but no, yeah, to each their own. But I do think, again, like you're saying, like certain elements that might be more grindy might feel less grindy if you're playing with pals. You know, that I think that would definitely kind of alleviate a little bit of that.
100%. But
awesome.
yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna keep playing for a long time. But
How much time have you put in so far, would you say?
honestly, not that much. Probably only like 20 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then for John, that's a small amount.
Especially with this type of game. It feels like it could be just endless.
It seems like it really could. And it really seems like, I always had the impression that the Monster Hunter series, like, they're almost like Capcom is just very generously being like, series is huge in Japan.
Yeah.
And we're just going to keep putting them out in North America and hoping it catches on big time there too. And I think World, again, not to keep going back to it,
yeah,
seemed like it really kind of broke through a little bit. Mm-hmm. and then, or not broke through. It's not like these games have not been popular, but yeah, they do seem to be very niche popular games, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I think we can probably wrap up the video games chat there this week, guys. And feels good to wrap up 100th episode. But again, there's no real reason to celebrate it because we'll be celebrating next week.
We won't celebrate it.
Yeah, even though I keep mentioning it. But either way, you can find us as always on the internet at pursuingpixels.com. Otherwise, we have a nice handy link tree that'll lead you to linktree/pursuingpixels that'll lead you to Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all the other good stuff that we got on the internet. And otherwise, we will catch y'all next week. Take care.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Like a little longer than an typical issue of like a comic book.
Yeah. It would be like 200
the weeklies
pages
or whatever
in a day, basically.
Okay.
It's not nothing.
That's
No,
not
that
that
seems
insane.
doable.
Yeah. That seems like not much more than if you hunkered down with or probably less than if you hunkered down with like a longish graphic novel and just plowed through it.
Right.
Yeah. Which I've done.
Yeah,
so.
which would be typically like 80 to 100 pages probably.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah. And I haven't read a graphic novel in a while.
I know, me too.
Same.
I
do
literally
enjoy
have them
them
sitting on my shelf, like ones that I've bought. It's like, what the fuck? What am I doing?
Same here.
Yeah, I feel like the last one I read was Seconds, which was the follow-up to Scott Pilgrim from Brian Lee O'Malley.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's really good, but it's just one.
I know what you're talking. I've seen. It's just a one thing, right?
Yeah.
I've not. I don't know much about it, but I've seen it before.
It's real good.
Nice.
Okay.
Real
I never
good
read
concept.
the Scott Pilgrims either.
Scott
There's
Pilgrim's
a lot of those
good.
too, aren't there?
Yeah, there's
Like
like
6, 7.
something like yeah. Either like 8 around there.
However many of the X's there are, I think, is how many of their books there are. Although that might not be true. Maybe there's like a double in a book.
You'd have to read to find out. I read them from Glenn. Like he was getting them. Oh God, they came out when we were in college. Jesus Christ. Ugh.
Jeez. Like they were still releasing. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's weird to think about. Yeah, back to the time when like Harry Potter
was
like,
new.
Books were coming out. Like when we worked at Best Buy, Randall, like and then the Barnes and Noble across the street.
Yeah,
I do remember a couple times working when there was like a midnight release or something for Harry Potter, and there being like a bunch of people hanging out.
They were still releasing at that point.
Yeah,
holy shit!
Yeah.
The last one came out.
It was towards the end. It might have been the last book.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah. In my head,
seems
that like happened before that point. I don't know, like a decent amount before that point, but obviously not.
In my head, it like happened before we were born. It's almost like Harry Potter's always been here, you know?